Are you ready? Ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Take over.
Okay, cool. So I wanted to talk about, so just like in general, and some of the stuff that Meg was saying about, SEO it's in a creepy way, it's getting closer and closer to artificial intelligence. And so the whole point of, Google, what are they called? The algorithms, they're supposed to predict human behavior, which is like creepy, but it's also like really helpful too. So not only is it, trying to figure out what people are searching for, but it's becoming more like the way that we speak and the way that we think. And so with SEO, there's like, it's basically two sides. There's this whole computer side of like, talking to the algorithm and figuring out how people find you through the computer. But it's also their job is to figure out, if someone asks this question, how do we get the most relevant results? So they're trying to predict human behavior. And so in that way, once they get to your site, like relevance is so important. So yeah, you can have all these keywords and stuff and all that. And that's obviously like, really paramount to getting people over there. But once you get people over there, they're just going to leave if it's not relevant. So once they get to your site and they find you and they're ready and they're signed up and you're about to answer what they're looking for, if you're not that answer, right? If they get there and you're not that answer, then they're going to be like, oh, this isn't what I wanted. And they're going to go back to the drawing board and search again, or they're going to go down to the next result or whatever. So really, even if you do want to like be on these keywords and different things, you have to be thinking about, am I actually solving this problem? Do my products, are they actually this? And so like I know, the other thing is because you're not going to fool them for very long. So even if you do fool the computers into thinking, you're this like thing, whatever, that your authority is going to start going down, and they're not going to be, because people aren't actually clicking, they're not actually staying, they're not either consuming your content or buying your products or whatever. So that's one of the other things you need to be thinking about, is making because SEO is getting more artificially intelligent, you need to make your website and your shop more artificially intelligent. And the way to do that is to obviously use us, like use humans and human beings. And so I wanted to talk about like a really good example. I mean, the worst thing that someone can do is come to your site and get frustrated. And let's say you really do have that thing they're looking for. So maybe they Google for some sort of product and they get to your site and they can't find it. Like that's like the most frustrating thing of all, because you really can help them, but the usability of your site is off, or the organization is off, or maybe they get really overwhelmed and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start with the site. So they kind of close down the window. And so that's like the worst thing that's a worst case scenario. So you want to look at your bounce rates and stuff and see where there's a disconnect. And so you kind of want to dive into all, analytics for sure, but also just thinking like a human. Like if you were in person and they were in your shop, you could say, hey, what are you looking for? And they can say, oh, I'm looking for this. And you're a search engine, right? You're like a human search engine. So you can walk over and say, we have it in this. And it also goes really well with this. Like it's just the old school, sales techniques basically online. So you want to think of your website in the same way, that, okay, if someone's coming here for this and maybe they want to know about this or whatever. And so you really want to help them navigate that path as quickly and easily as possible. And the only way to do that is to really to test and see how people use websites. So there's a lot of online tools like peak user testing. Those guys are like, you take with a grain of salt, because they're totally random samplings of people that are coming to your site. They're not necessarily your customers or your clients or whatever. So, but sometimes it does give you some insight on people like getting confused, or like where they don't know where to click or something like that. So that can be helpful to use that. But real life people are the best. And there's a few ways you can do it. Like you can do it just in a small kind of room of people or friends or family, and just watch them use your site, or have them record themselves using their site and kind of saying, or using your site and record them like what they're thinking. Like, okay, I'm looking for this, but I don't see a button, or I want to purchase, but where's the purchase button, or where's the buy, or I have this question. And so like just be kind of thinking about what they're going through in their mind, and actually just even testing it yourself. I know a lot of people like they kind of forget to actually use their site and use their shop and actually like purchase it. I mean, go all the way through, purchase it. You can refund yourself really easily, but just go through the actual process and go, okay, I want to buy this and I want to go here. How does this process working? And does it make sense? Another way that you can do that is to think about your search bar. So a search bar is a huge one. And I don't know that I really thought about how much I use the search bar until I actually did a test. So I just for fun, I got paid like an Amazon gift card. I think it was like maybe $25 or something. But there's a local healthcare facility here called Sharp, and they were doing user testing. And I don't know, one of my friends works there, and she's like, "Hey, this might be fun. You want to go check it out?" So I went there, and they recorded me. Like there was like a room with like a mirror and everything. It was like kind of creepy, but but anyways, it was really cool because they recorded me using their new site, and to see what I would do. And so they would give me like prompts. They would say like, if you want to find a healthcare provider, in El Cajon, what would you do? And almost like, I want to say like 90% of the time, I would go straight to the search bar. And it was mind blowing to me because I didn't know that I used websites like that until I actually was put to the test. So in my head, if I was designing that website, I would have had a search bar up there, but I would have been like, oh, they're going to go here, they're going to go there, they're going to go here. But when I was put under the test and I really wanted to find something like really quickly, I used a search bar. And I think that a lot of people, especially with shops, they downplay the search, the whole thing with search, because you got to realize there's a whole thing called search bar relevance. And so they could be putting in your product, but if they describe it in a different way than you described it, they're still not finding your product, right? So this is where like the keywords and all those SEO for your products are going to come back into play, because you got to think about, okay, what if people don't know how to spell this product? Like I want to put in keywords of like the misspelled product, right? Or like, what if people call it this? And what if people, maybe like different places, like, like some people call it soda, some people call it pop, some like whatever, like, or crawfish and crayfish and crawdad, right? Like just there's different ways people use like different words to find things. And so putting all that stuff in your back end, putting all that SEO in your products is going to help with the search engine results too. Another way to do it is there's third-party plugins like predictive text plugins. So basically just like Google. So when you start to type something in, how it like answers your question for you, you can do that with platforms like Shopify and WooCommerce. There's third-party plugins that you can use to do that, so that when you start typing, it starts giving you suggestions. And that way, you're basically pointing them in the right direction and not just leaving it all up to keywords. So that's a really cool thing you can do too. But yeah, just be thinking about how people could be misspelling things, whatever. But using the search bar is going to be huge for your shop, because I think people do think of it as an afterthought. But nowadays, we don't want to like even search through like it was shopping. I mean, we're just so I think Amazon messed this over. Like I think Amazon like just completely screwed us for like all shopping time, because you go to Amazon, I don't even look at all this stuff, right? I go to Amazon, I go straight to the search bar. I don't know if is anyone else like me, like just go straight to the search bar. I don't even look at all their ads, right? Or whatever they're selling, because I know what I want and I want it. Like, and I want it in 2 days and I want it for free shipping. I mean, there's the whole thing that just messed this up so much, but either way, it is what it is. That's how people shop. So that's one thing to think. Another way that you can do testing, which is really cool, is there's a couple different companies that I've been looking at both. I've been using SumoMe. So SumoMe is one of them. And SumoMe, I think it's SumoMe.com, but they have a lot of different tools that you can use, and some of them are totally free. Right now I'm still on the free version because I'm kind of checking it out. But they have heat maps. So what heat maps are is it tells you when someone visits your page, like what are they clicking on? It'll show you, it's like an infrared heat map. Like it'll show the areas that are like the hotter areas, and then the ones that like our people aren't using. But what's cool actually that I found from SumoMe is that there'll be a hot area that you don't even have a link. So I've noticed there's places that people are clicking on that I didn't even like intend to be a link, I guess. And so then it goes, okay, well that needs to be a link. That needs to go somewhere, right? So like there's things like that. Or there's another one called Hotjar, and Hotjar it seems to be a little bit more robust, where you can actually see how far people scroll down the page. So it'll show you like if people never get to the bottom, if your page is so long that people never get to the bottom, it'll show you like a heat map basically based on how far they scroll before they click something and go to the next page. It'll also show you if there's a disconnect in and this is on Hotjar, but it'll also show if there's a disconnect in like the process where they're jumping. So it'll show you like they went to this page and then they went to this page and then they got to the cart and then they jumped, or maybe they went to this page and then jumped. And so it'll show you like the process and where they're disconnecting. And the other thing that Hotjar also does is it has like survey tools where it'll ask people if they want to kind of participate in a sort of survey, and then on certain pages it'll ask them questions. It'll say like, what are you looking for? What's confusing about this page? And I haven't used that yet, but it seems really powerful to figure out, especially when you're first starting. And you can always have some sort of a gift card or some giveaway or something that they're getting for free in order to kind of pay them for for their usability testing. But I think that's really cool, and I think it's really, really important to figuring out how to actually get people to buy, because there's such a disconnect between what you think you're saying and what they're hearing. And are they confused? And are they understanding what you're actually, because you're not in person. And so if you can utilize this whole artificial intelligence of how people are using websites and where to place things, you'll do so much better, because there's a lot of other things too, like visual I don't know, I like kind of like design rules about things, about, like just how to put a button so that it looks like a button. Or in Shop Site School, we talk about, like having, there's like a law of something, I forget what the name of it is, but it's some sort of physical thing where if something's not closely connected, like a button, if the button is too far away, even if the button's like right next to it, it'll do better than if the button's even here. Like, so if it's like, 20 pixels to the right or whatever, it won't do as well. It won't perform as well as so there's all these little things that you can learn about, like how people actually use websites to make it so that people are, you're utilizing all this, the SEO, the artificial intelligence, selling to people who need extra, right? Because there's a lot of and because it's so much competition online right now, you kind of do need that extra. You need any extra push you can get to get people to purchase and hear you and listen to the story that you're telling, the better, right? So the last thing, I know we're probably like running a little over in time. I just wanted to totally touch on, or just quickly touch on social media selling. So that's a whole new thing basically it's where a lot of these platforms are making it so they don't even actually have to go to your site to purchase something. So some of these platforms are more primed for selling on than others. I would say Facebook is probably a little bit less. Facebook and Twitter a little bit less, because they are social sharing platforms. People don't come on to Facebook to buy. It's actually more intrusive. So like, it's just like you guys, probably nobody goes onto Facebook and says, what am I going to buy on Facebook today? Right? Like nobody said nobody ever. So they go on Facebook to talk to their friends, whatever. And then this ad comes in the middle and tries to sell them something. It's kind of like, ugh, get away. So there's a different, like with Facebook and Twitter, I would say more so, it's about connecting with people for the sale later. So that's why most people are pushing for, signups and newsletters and stuff like that. On Facebook, it's more like starting a relationship than it is selling. But there are other platforms like Pinterest for 100% is a really good selling platform. And so, and Shopify has a whole thing where you can purchase from Pinterest. But if you're not using Shopify, they have rich pins that kind of hook up to, what rich pins are is they hook up to your product and they automatically update. So if your product goes on sale, if there's some kind of change or whatever, it automatically updates the pin on Pinterest. So it's really, really cool and very awesome. And people are looking to shop on Pinterest. People are looking for ideas and inspiration, and they want to purchase products or use products or do crafts or whatever. And so it's very much more so a place where people are looking to sell. So those are the places that I would kind of push you over to a little bit more. But either way, all of these social media platforms can feed into that. Just the same algorithms, same artificial intelligence, same getting those relationships started to kind of roll towards that too.